Hey gang, Jose with Sailing Vessel Reverie. Today we're doing a little bit of a fiberglass job. One of the things on Reverie, being a 1985 boat, is that it has a lot of old wood panels. These are from 1985. They're only about a half an inch thick, so this is what the panel looks as it stands on the boat right now. So one of the things I'm trying to do is, because the wood is old, I wanted to reinforce it with fiberglass. Hit the wood with resin to make it absorb it and give it a little bit more stability, and then put some fiberglass mat and shop on the back just for additional strength. These are covering our V-berth where the mattresses are going to sit. And even though the weight is distributed, I wanted to make sure that they're going to be solid. I'm not going to have to worry about putting our foot on it. So this is kind of what it looks like. This big one here is the fill for the V-berth. So even though it's sitting on the edge, you can tell that, you know, this is pretty thin piece of wood and piece of edge for this to take all of the weight of, a skinny guy like me climbing up at night to go to sleep. So I'm going to do the same thing with this, reinforce it. So I need to sand it and fiberglass it before I put the chop and the mat on it. These two boards, I did half of it. So, you know, they're nice and shiny. The wood actually absorbed quite a bit of the resin in the process. So what I did is I sanded them down. You can see they're lighter color. Took kind of a skin off and then laid out the resin on top of it, and creates a nice watertight seal. So now I still got to do the backside, and this is where I'm going to place the fiberglass. And then this board over here is what I'm using to close the hatch on the back side of Reverie on the quarter berth. If you remember, I had that household air conditioner in there that left a pretty big hole. So I could spend $500 on a hatch, or I can make one. So I decided to go with some birch and sand it, put a coat of glass, of resin on it. I'm going to do the same thing on the back side, so that's going to seal the wood nicely. And then what I'm going to do is probably put, I'm debating whether putting a hinge and then two bolts to kind of lock it into place, and put sealer around it so you can lift it up to get into that aft locker section, or just put all four screw-on locks, and then they'll be nice and secure, and whenever I have to get back there for tools or whatnot, I'll just remove the whole panel. So up still for debate. So I'm gonna kind of get things set up in here and get started. Okay, well, it looks like this was some kind of a plug that they use. It seemed that it was supposed to have some kind of rubber material around a bronze little piece of pipe. So when you put the screw on, the screw can turn and not wear on the wood over time. I think, putting some good fiberglass, this is not going to be moving that much to begin with. So if I refill that whole corner, I'm going to have to rebuild this by using thickened epoxy and get it to where this is kind of a solid piece of fiberglass, and I'll put some chop and some mat probably on this extensions to reinforce them. That will give me kind of the structural support, and then I can just drill a hole into the glass. And this is not going to be, again, this is only going to move once every blue moon. It's one of those things that you either use it a lot or don't use it at all. So it'll either be on or off. It's not going to need a bunch of friction protection going forward. All right, to do my sanding, I'm just using a regular circular saw. I don't have to take a lot, it's actually pretty quick. But I'm only using 220 this sandpaper. All I want to do is just take a light skin off of everything, so then I can clean it, and then I can put the resin on, start letting the cure process, and then I'll get the fiberglass ready for the application. I'm starting to cut the fiberglass, and I'm using the wood as a template. I want to have everything kind of pre-cut. It's going to be a little bit bigger than the wood itself. Once I place it, I'll have some excess material coming over the edge, so I'll make sure it's a good coverage. And from there, then I can just trim it after it dries up with a sander. So it's going to make it easier to to make sure that I have good coverage. All right, I got all my material prep, so what I'm going to do now is clean the surfaces with acetone. Alright, since I have a lot of boards to cover, I'm going to use a roller to roll the resin on it, and then use a brush if it's coming out too thick. Now, the idea is to get this first coat on the wood. I'm going to let it sit for a period of time just to absorb and get tacky, and then I'll come back a little bit and put in the material, the fiberglass, on top of it. I'm going to let that get tacky, and then I'll come back and do another mix and lay out the fiberglass on the boards. Alright, I put down my my section of chop strand. I have to mix another batch of epoxy to kind of finish the job of getting everything in and getting it nice and wet. That part in, now I'm going to put Alright, one more down, 4 more to go. Okay, so we got all the boards done. So right now we just have to let them sit overnight to dry and make sure the epoxy hardens and the fiberglass adheres to the wood. And I'll give a second coat to our board for the electronics and our hatch door, and we should be kind of ready to go and wrap that up. So I'll be back tomorrow to show you how this came out and how we do with the trim. Alright gang, so I'm on the last phase of finishing the boards. So to speed things up, since I had a lot of excess material, I just went around with a hacksaw and just cut the edge until I left a very small edge of fiberglass on the board itself. And then I have this belt sander that's it's really small. It's like an inch wide, and it's really nice for this type of work because you don't have a lot of board. It's just a 1/2 inch board. So trying to do it with a circular saw, you're always catching the edge and pulling off. With this, you just basically work your way nice and easy along the edge, clean it up, and you can use the vacuum as you're doing it to keep the dust down to a minimum. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing here. Just to show you real quick, so I'm basically working my way down the edge and taking the excess glass. I hope you can see that on the video. But basically, you know, it gives me a nice clean edge here, and I'll have everything cleaned up before I put it back on the boat. So here you can see the end product. You know, nice and shiny on the one side and reinforced with the fiberglass on the back, and nice cleaned edge all the way around. So that's going to make this board that much stronger. So on the V-berth we can relax at night, not worry about going through. All right, gang, we're in the last portion of the work, and if you remember, I had to fill that bad corner on the centerboard here for the V-berth. So what I did is I put a piece of tape and I mixed some thickened epoxy, and I added the 404 filler. This one right here. It's a high density filler adhesive, and I overfill the area because I wanted to make sure that everything got into every part of the wood. So what I'm going to do now is sand this out smooth, and this will be 100% done. So I'll show you that. And the other thing I decided to do is the veneer on the anchor locker is just, every time I touch it, it just pops out and it falls apart. I mean, you can see it right there. It's not in good shape. So instead of messing around with the whole piece, I actually have a nice piece of starboard. So I'm going to basically trace the shape and cut a new hatch. Then I'll take this 2 supports out and mount them on the starboard and put a new lock in, and basically we got our anchor locker lid back on. All right. So now you can see we have a solid surface. So now we can re-drill that and create the spinning pin where this board sits, and it rotates, and it has a board that it locks in place when you're not using it, and then under the mattresses, and then you can roll it out and lock it in place so you can put the filler piece inside. So that's it for this. Let me get working on the hatch. I trace the pattern on this piece of starboard, and now I have to get my saw and cut this out, hopefully in a straight line, and route it so it has a nice round edge to it, and that should be it. That should be ready to go in. What I'm using is a fast and clean blade on the jigsaw to basically just cut and trim the edge. Okay, so now I'm using my circular saw with 220, and it's just to take the little particles out. So just gently sand the edges. Perfect. All right, so we reattach the reattach the legs and the latch. So we're gonna go test it over on the V-Berth and see if we have our locker. All right, so getting a step closer here. I gave a good clean to the V-Berth and reset the panels. Here's the center panel. This is kind of how it works. I still have to put the latch on this side. But one thing I realized is that I put the fiberglass on the top side instead of the bottom side, but hey, nobody's gonna see it, so I can live with that. There's the pin that we repaired, so that provides a spin, and this is the latch. So when we open this up, this rolls, and it has a stopper right there, so it kind of gets it out of the way. So you're never gonna see this. This is always gonna be underneath the mattress, or if you have it on, it's gonna be under the filler cushion. Now, since I did a test, I kind of sat on this thing. I still have to put a nut on that and put the latch on this, but I was able to sit on this and put all my weight on it, and it's now solid. Another thing we did was reinforce the supports. You notice the old screws were not going to come out on their own. They're being corroded for so long that there was no way of really getting them out an easy way. So what I decided to do was put additional screws with washers, and underneath there's a much, you're not going to be able to see it, but underneath there's a washer that's about twice that size, and I put in 4 on each side to kind of reinforce the old screws that were there, and did the same thing pretty much on every panel. Another thing I wanted to show you is that because Reverie is pretty old, the way they designed these boats is they created the mold, and then they put wood on it and created the partitions. There's a bulkhead down there, but then they tapped it, so there's this fiberglass going into the wood. So in order to replace this piece of board, you would have to literally saw cut everything all the way around in order to take the boards out. The side panels, the liner on the V-Berth, it's actually in really good shape. It's still nice and tight. So I'm gonna leave that alone for now. And one more thing I'm doing here is I'm gonna put basically a foam mat underneath, closed cell foam, to keep the moisture from the mattress. So I'm gonna kind of throw it in there so you can see what it looks like, and then I'm gonna put the mattresses down, and we're on our way. All right, we got the foam cut and put into place. I will probably tape it later, but for now it's ready to go. I'm gonna go get the mattress and put them in. All right, that's the finished product. We got our new cushions for the first time. Back in Reverie, this is we took the originals to use as template, and what they did here is they use 4-inch mattress foam, and that's what our bed is. And then we had some sheets that were custom sewn for the shape. So here's we have our filler piece, so nice and comfy. So I'm not gonna jump in because I'm all sweaty right now, so we'll try it afterwards. But it's looking good. Now I have to get the rest of the cushions into Reverie. Okay, hatch fits perfectly. I can peel off. Okay. Voila. One more thing done. This wood here is pretty soft. At some point I'll have to change it, but for now it works, and it keeps everything nice and neat and out of our head. So one more project done. Wow. Well, I have to say I'm extremely pleased with how things turn out. So our mattress fits perfectly, the custom sheets fit perfectly, we have our sheet, and we have our pillowcases. So I have to get some regular sleeping pillows for here, but everything worked out fantastic. So we have our fan and our lights and our air conditioner. So one step closer. All right, so check out Reverie. A little bit more cleaned up. Got our cushions put in. Still have to work on the galley, but at least all the clutter is concentrated in one place. So it looks great. I'm really happy with all the work. Our V-Berth. And yes, I'll clear the nav station here in a few seconds. A quarter berth. These are the cushions from the outside. Let me gonna do it from this angle so you can get a better view. So that cushion you see there in the middle actually also fits here on the helm seat. So tonight we're gonna stay here tonight for our first sleepover here at the dock. All right, folks, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like our videos, please click on the bottom below and subscribe to our channel. We continue to post all of the work we're doing on Reverie to get it ready for long-range cruising. And right now, getting the cushions done, getting those hatches done on the anchor locker and the V-berth and the quarter berth was a big win. That's kind of what we've been waiting in order to get all our cushions back on the boat. They're going back, or they just went into the boat for the very first time since we had them done over a year and a half ago. So Carmen is really happy that they're out of the house. I think she even took a picture. So with that, we're going to wrap it up. If you have any questions on the video or any of the things that we did here, please feel free to comment below. We'll reply to your messages. And keep an eye out for the future videos. We still have the plumbing left to do. So we have some work to route the plumbing below the sole, which has become a little bit more challenging than what I expected. So, but we'll get it done and we'll get it connected and we'll have water on the boat. So one quick note on the BNG from the last video, our wind instrument was flooded. So we basically called in, luckily for me, it's still under warranty. So was able to send it in and they're going to replace it. They asked me, how do you get water in there? I said, I don't know, it's sitting at the top of the mast, you figure that one out. But anyway, they were kind enough, they're gonna give us a new wind instrument. It's just gonna take about 10 to 15 days for that to get back to me, so then we can get it back up the mast. So I'm gonna hold off on configuring the P70 until we get that connected. So with that, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.